Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss about the age of transition, which is also known as the age of Johnson and the age of sensibility. And I have already discussed from Anglo-Saxon to the time of Pope. If you have not seen the videos yet, then please take a look. Links are in the description below. The transition period. This period was governed by George II and George III. George II, who ruled from 1727 to 1760 AD, and George III ruled from 1760 to 1820 AD. George III was the third Hanoverian monarch and the first one to be born in England and to use English as his first language. During his reign, Great Britain defeated France in the 7 Years of War. He was the first king to study science, and he had his own astronomical observation center. But later in his life, he developed a permanent mental illness, and he died on 1820 at the age of 81. Now, why this time period is known as the transition period? In this period, the writers began to emphasize the importance of romantic conscientiousness. Poetry of this period was flowing towards Romanticism. During Augustan period, we could see the writers wrote against rival authorism, imitation of classics, politics and social issues, satires and irony. But transition writers have written with their passion, imagination. They focused on city life. They gave importance to nature. This period is also known as the age of Johnson, because Johnson was the most dominating figure in this era. He was an English writer who made lasting contribution as a poet, playwright, essayist, moralist, critic, biographer, editor, and lexicographer. Johnson's Dictionary of the English Language was certainly the largest dictionary in the history of the English language. It took more than 8 years to write and published in 1755 AD. It had a far-reaching effects on modern English. This work brought Johnson popularity and success. His other famous works are The Rambler, The Adventurer, Universal Visitor, The Literary Magazine or Universal Review, The Idler, Journey to the Western Islands of Scotland, The Vanity of Human Wishes, London, and The History of Rasselas. A group of transitional poets are known as the Precursor of Romanticism. They are Bishop Percy, Robert Burns, James Thomson, Oliver Goldsmith, Thomas Gray, Thomas Chatterton, William Collins, William Cowper, William Blake, and George Crabbe. They introduced a new variety in their works towards Romanticism. William Cowper was an English poet and hymn writer, one of the most popular poets of his time. William Cowper changed the direction of 18th century nature poetry by rewriting of everyday life and scenes of the English countryside. His important works are The Snail, The Winter Nascae, Only Hymns, Epitaph on a Hare, The Rose, The Task, and more. James Thomson was a British poet, playwright, known for his poems The Seasons and The Castle of Indolence. Samuel Richardson was an English writer and a printer and publisher. He is best known for 3 epistolary novels, Pamela or Virtue Rewarded, Clarissa, The History of Sir Charles Grandson. He printed almost 500 works, including journals and magazines. He wrote his first novel at the age of 51. Henry Fielding was an English novelist, irony writer, and dramatist. Henry and Samuel Richardson are seen as founders of the traditional English novel. He is best known for his novel Tom Jones. Henry Fielding is breezy, bustling, and energetic in his narrative. He shows us life on the highway, in the cottage, and among the streets of London. His famous works are Samela, The History of the Adventures of Joseph Andrews and his friend Mr. Abraham Adams, The Life and Death of Jonathan Wild, The History of Tom Jones, Amelia. And his plays are Love in the Several Musketeers, Rape Upon Rape, The Modern Husband, The Lottery, the universal gallant, or the different husbands. Edward Gibbon was an English historian, writer, and member of Parliament. His most important works are The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, which was published between 1776 to 1788. And other historians were James Boswell, William Godwin, Gilbert White, and more. The 18th century has often been designated as the age of prose reason, and Edmund Burke, recognized as one of the masters of English prose, was an ethnically Irish British statesman, economist, and philosopher. Edmund served as a member of Parliament between 1766 to 1794 in the House of Commons of Great Britain with the Whig Party. His notable works are A Vindication of Natural Society, Reflections on the Revolution in France, a philosophical inquiry into the origin of our ideas of the sublime and beautiful. Adam Smith was an economist and philosopher who was a pioneer of the political economy. He is also known as the father of economics. He wrote two classics, The Theory of Moral Sentiments and An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. The Wealth of Nations is considered his magnum opus and the first modern work of economics. Richard Brinsley Sheridan was an Irish satirist, a politician, a playwright, a long-term owner of the London Theatre Royal. His famous works are obviously The Rivals, St. Patrick's Day, The School for Scandal, The Camp, The Critic, Pizarro, and more. He also wrote a selection of poems and political speeches during his time in Parliament. William Blake was an English poet, painter, and printmaker. Blake is now considered a seminal figure in the history of the poetry and visual art of the Romantic Age. His use of images, symbols, metaphors, and revolutionary spirit combined with simple diction and spontaneous expression of thoughts make him a romantic poet. Blake was influenced by the ideals and ambitions of the French and American Revolution. His famous works are The Tiger, London, Poison Tree, The Lamb, A Marriage of Heaven and Hell, The Sick Rose, The Little Black Boy, and more. Other novelists were Tobias Smollett, Lawrence Sterne, Horace Walpole, William Blackford, Mrs. Anne Radcliffe, and more. That's all about today. I hope this video will help you a little bit. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thank you.